Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to a new video. My name is Evelin Barta, and thank you so much, everybody, for being here, for supporting my channel, and thank you, everyone, who has subscribed to my other channel as well, which is called Esoterica with Evelyn, where I'm sharing different readings. So, in my last video, I talked about where we are standing right now as a collective, as humanity, what we are going through in this period. And I talked about the fact that there's a great spiritual awakening that is happening in the world and an opportunity for tapping into a higher level of existence on our planet to start to embody our higher self. But that is also coming with loads of challenges and difficulties and adversities as well, because the higher self is challenging us, the heart is challenging us to look at certain aspects that we have ignored. And I'm talking about we have ignored as of humanity has stepped out of our divine nature in a sense. We have turned our back to God, we have turned our back to our own divinity, and then we have forgotten what we are. So what is happening right now is a great deal of suppressing this particular awakening in the world. And as we are coming out of this spiritual amnesia in a sense, because we are leaving the Iron Age, we are leaving the Age of Pisces, which was about believing in certain leaders, believing in certain spiritual dogmas. It was a very Luciferian in a sense, because it was built on escapism, escaping the soul, escaping the lessons of the soul, trying to feel good and to be free without putting in the spiritual work and without looking at our own shadows. So ignoring and suppressing our shadows, but projecting those shadows onto the world. So the past 2000 years were difficult in that sense, and this suppressed trauma and this suppressed shadow, the shadow self of humanity, was very much manifested and projected into the outside world in a form of manipulation, in a form of wars, upheavals in the world, the division, depression. And as we are approaching and as we have stepped into, because I believe that we have already stepped into the age of Aquarius, I know that many people are debating about that and are saying that we have not done yet. But all the scientific innovations that humanity has been through, so to speak, all these new discoveries and the digitalization of our society is pointing in that direction already, that we have stepped into that age of Aquarius. And 2023 will be about Pluto entering in Aquarius, and that will bring some upheavals in that area, that will bring a total transformation. So the downside of the age of Aquarius is this very digital direction that we are heading into, and learning discernment, learning to discern what is an organic evolution, what is the organic human, is an organic living, and what is the opposite of that, and where that can be leading us. So there's an agenda in place in the world right now in the leadership, and that is about introducing a digital reality, almost like in a form of a digital religion, a new society, a completely new reality, which I talked about many times in previous videos. So there are many and multiple false events that want to create a new society, that are intending to create a new society. One of those events was in 2020. And it's very interesting that that particular event, and I'm talking about COVID-19, wasn't really seen by many psychics. So I think the only one that was seeing these events coming like 100 years ago was Rudolf Steiner, who was talking about a particular inoculation that will try to separate the human consciousness from the soul, the higher self from the human being. So it will try to get in between the higher self and the human being. So the spiritual evolution of the human will be suppressed, will be changed. And I also believe that knowing what these things are containing is that there's an attempt for the digitalization of the human body through that, like slowly, systematically. And just as we are seeing different structures being systematically destroyed, starting from the economy, the whole reality, the whole society is being systematically destroyed so it can be built over. And that is very well orchestrated and very well planned. And this is how the organic human was attempted to be destroyed as well, or to be transformed into something synthetic, into something digital, we can say. So the world is being systematically destroyed so humanity can enter in a state of depression, and this is what they are intending to do, to get humanity into a state of depression, like a mourning state, like a grieving, where we will accept unnatural people and unnatural leaders as well. And we are seeing those leaders already emerging. There's a mental illness within these groups. There's an insanity of this reality, this synthetic reality. And high IQ doesn't mean that there's no insanity within these groups. That doesn't mean that these people don't know what they are doing. But there's 100% reliance on the mind, and there's an obsession with the mind. There's an obsession with the intellect without the heart, without those heart and love frequencies. And that is what is creating this chaos in their mental activity. And that is what they want to project into the outside world as well, creating a synthetic and false sphere as well around the earth, which we can call the eighth sphere. So our world is being torn out from underneath us, and this is what these different false flags are about. These new events arising are about, to pull out the rug from underneath our feet, to lose our safety net, to lose the reality that we have been believing in, that has provided us with safety. And obviously we can say that it was a false safety, but that is another topic to talk about. So everything has a silver lining as well. But the intention is to really destroy the safety net of people, so they will start believing in these new bizarre ideologies and then bizarre belief systems. We can adopt new bizarre belief systems about who the human is, the real human is. And that is very much like a Neptunian influence, when a whole population, the human population, can be deluded into something that is completely false, like to start believing in fantasies about what real happiness is. And you as a human being, and the highest faculty of you as a human being, is the intellect and is the mind. And there's a complete suppression of the heart and what the heart can provide you, the safety that the heart can provide with. So the idea is to create an inorganic way of life and to make people to believe that our highest faculty can be achieved only through technology and through a digital world, a synthetic world. There's a convincing of the human population, humanity, that we aren't capable of creating our own reality. That reality has to be given to us. And this is where the metaverse and virtual reality comes into picture, because it is deluding you with the idea that these are shortcuts to happiness. These are shortcuts to having things that you would not have otherwise in an organic reality. So we are destroying your reality, we are destroying your safety net, we are destroying the economy. So your resources are being taken away from you and your safety net is being taken away from you. And because you are being given like a checkmate situation, you are being forced into a corner, and you cannot create what you want because you don't have the financial security and the financial education. And this is a generational thing. So it has been going on for a while, and it's part of the generational trauma. So because of that, now you're being offered a new reality where you can have whatever you want. And that is very much the virtual reality, and then metaverse as well. So it is very Luciferian in nature, the metaverse, because it is representing basically that fantasy world, the astral plane, the mirroring of the human consciousness, the mimicking of the human consciousness. So there's a projection of the human consciousness there, and there's an entrapment of the human consciousness as well. So as I said, it's very much based on a fantasy world. You are not able to create in the real world what you want, but you are able to create it there. It's very much tempting because it is promising happiness. So that is the very tempting side of that, and a very toxic side of it as well. It is promising you shortcuts to your happiness. And those that are creating this synthetic reality, those forces, are also just mimicking the universe, are personifying the universe, personifying the cosmos, personifying nature and the natural world as well, and the human body and the human consciousness and emotions, with all these avatars running around in the metaverse. So it's very interesting that there was a great deal of pushing for it, and they did not get the expected response to this virtual reality. and to the metaverse, they did not get the demand for this reality. So people are not so keen to start to embrace, this inorganic living and inorganic world. So it's very interesting to see that. And even though there were big attempts for this generation, Gen Z, to be conditioned to accept virtual reality, and there's an obsession with video games, with the internet, there's an addiction as well to technology, and yet the demand for this virtual world is not as they were intended it to be. So it's great to see that, because humanity is waking up. So there's this great influence of Neptune now with this fantasy world and delusion and escapism. But then there's also a great influence of Jupiter, which is the biggest planet of our solar system. And we just had recently Jupiter entering Pisces. So I think yesterday on the 25th, it will spend a lot of time, Jupiter in Pisces. And the influence of Jupiter in Pisces is spiritual expansion, the expansion of the heart, the expansion of alternate realities as well, an interest in mysticism, in occultism, an interest in the spiritual world, of discovering the spirit. And even though there's a big push for the technology, we will see in the next 12 years a big expansion in the spiritual area as well. And then jobs that are related to spirituality, movements that are related to the spirit world. So it's very nice to see that there's a great influence of Uranus as well, which is ruling technology, which this age of Aquarius will be about. But then also there will be an influence of Jupiter in that sense. So it's nice to see that people aren't so keen to the metaverse. But what we are seeing with all these narratives now, be it war, be it diseases, pandemics, or just a fake UFO invasion, or whatever is in store for us, the idea is to get you in a depressed state. And when you are entering a depressed state, the ego wants to escape that. And you feel this urge to do something about that. And what can serve as an escapism here is to enter a different sphere, to enter a different world, to enter a dream state, to run away from reality. And when you do that, and when they introduce these virtual realities and then the metaverse, you are basically being directed to enter someone else's sphere, not to enter your own sphere and a genuine plane, a genuine universe that is within yourself, but you are basically entering in someone else's sphere, in someone else's synthetic reality, manufactured reality. So that is our biggest lesson now, to discern what is our genuine state, our genuine universe that we can only find within, that we cannot find in the external world, and what is to create that genuine place, that sanctuary, and what is to actually tune into someone else's synthetic sphere. So the question is, what are we accepting? Are we accepting someone else's reality because it is easier to get there, because we think that it's easier to get there, because we think that it's a shortcut? Or we are creating our own reality, our own sanctuary, by looking at our shadows, by looking at ourselves. So what we are seeing is like the suppression of working in our shadows, on our shadows. And also it was interesting to see at the time of the pandemic that there was this intention of the authorities to try to turn you against your neighbor, against your friends, against your relative. There was a great deal of division with the liquids as well. And we saw like attempts in the media as well, trying to convince you that you should not talk to your neighbor, you should not gather together. And that is because there's an exchange of a resonance between people that they need to get in between, that these forces need to get in between, because they know that if there are multiple people that gather together under a good intention, under love, under freedom, there's a tremendous amount of energy that gets released. When we put our focus in the same place, then we can create unimaginable things together. So they know that very well, and they know that they need to get in between that particular resonance. Otherwise, they cannot pull it off. So there's a great power in gathering together under noble means. And when people are focusing on the same thing, they are able to create unimaginable things, which is the biggest threat to the establishment. And when we are uniting our powers under the same resonance, we are under the same vibration, then we can take down massive forces that are ego-based. massive forces that want to create a particular reality. We could take down the whole leadership, and they are terrified of that. They are absolutely terrified of that. And that is why there are already like scientific studies that are studying the brain and how to interfere with certain dynamics of the brain in order to influence, for example, extremists in the Middle East. So there are scientific studies in the Middle East about how to alter the spiritual center of the brain, the religious devotion of the brain as well, in order to influence extremists that don't want to obey to certain rules. And then this is what they are doing with the population as well. So it's incredible that it is just insane how much they want to alter the human brain and how much they want to interfere with the human brain because they think that they can get rid of certain emotions. And that is the insanity of these groups of people. They do want to get rid of emotions because they are terrified of those emotions actually. So what I see and what will possibly happen in the next 12 years, as I said, with Jupiter being in Pisces and all the changes, is that spirituality will start to divide into groups, because there's a large group of people that are seeing spirituality and spiritual development as entertainment, and there's an obsession with spirituality as entertainment. This is what New Age has been about for a while. This is what is describing actually in the 8th sphere, you know, that escapism is serving, spirituality is serving as an escapism. It is serving as a fantasy. It's like a feel-good intention. I want to feel good, and that's why I'm choosing spirituality. So what I see is like a division of the spiritual community in two groups. And one will be based on genuine development, on genuine understanding of our inner dynamics, genuine diving into the shadows and doing the real work. So it's a little bit like a scholarly approach, and then also spiritual practice. So real spiritual practice that is bringing balance. So I see like a balanced spirituality with one group being aligned with the higher self. And then I believe that there will be another group that will be based on escapism. And that particular group will be going crazier and crazier. And it will very much have this Neptunian influence, you know, the delusion, and getting deeply immersed into fantasy, into this synthetic world almost, or mirror world, the astral world, the astral plane. So that will be a very much imbalanced side of the spiritual community that will be easily tricked into a false spiritual development and then false psychic abilities, because there is AI and many psychics are actually thinking that are tapping into and tuning into a genuine force of a spiritual force, like a exalted being, but in reality they are tapping into and tuning into AI and into a reality and into information that is being gathered by an algorithm, sort of. So yeah, it's interesting to see these two sides. So we don't only see technology and then spirituality, but then within spirituality we will see a division. And this is what we will see with technology as well, like the two sides of technological advancement, technological innovations. The technology that wants to replace the human consciousness, or technology that wants to enhance the human consciousness. And there will be a difference between the two of them. So yeah, exciting and interesting times are coming. These days, especially at these times, and I can talk about these days, are not easy. There are lots of shadows that we are facing at this very moment. Myself as well, continuously. But what I'm feeling of myself as well is that I'm developing a lot of discernment, and I'm developing discernment about myself, discerning what is coming from me, what is coming from other people, what is coming from the collective consciousness, and what is coming from myself, how I'm fitting into the collective consciousness, and so on. What is my personal fear, and then what is intuition, these kind of things. And the more we are integrating our shadows, and this is really like an integration process, an integration period, the more discernment we can develop as well. All right, guys, so this is what I wanted to say very quickly in today's video. I didn't want to make a long video today, so I hope it resonated. If it did, please subscribe to this channel. Please share this message with those that you think that want to hear about and that can resonate with it. Thank you so much, everybody who has subscribed again to my other channel. If you're interested in tarot readings, subscribe to my Esoterica with Evelyn channel. If you want to support my work, you can do it on Patreon. And then also, if you want to book a personal reading, then you can find information about that down below in the description box. So thank you very much for being here. Take care, everybody, and I cannot wait to see you next time.